How do I look?
Like a supermodel.
So do you, man.
All right, let's get started, right? My name is Mike Byrnes. I'm owner of Byrnes Consulting. I speak all over the country and do a lot of writing, been published a lot throughout the industry. And I'm honored to have with me Matt Peterson. I want to tell the audience a little bit more about yourself.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it. We've been friends for a little bit. So my name is Matt Peterson. The name of my firm is called Make It a Great Day, Inc. And I've been helping independent financial advisors and advisors in transition, all financial advisors for the last 20 years. And how I can help them, I think the most is through making their website the hub, but then also utilizing digital marketing strategies to kind of apply based on what each client is trying to process. So I would say the biggest difference between myself and my competition, um, I've decided to stay boutique. So I work directly with my clients. I'm the president of the company and I'm the project manager. But I have a team that sits behind me as opposed to, a sales and support department. So thanks, Mike.
Yeah, and he said we go back a bit. I mean, we obviously go way back, and our friendship has actually even survived a Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl. I don't mean to bring that up; it's been a while, but
1 yard. It was only 1 yard. Hand it off. Sorry.
but yeah, we're going to cover insights in the future of digital marketing today, which is a great topic. I love this stuff. I know Matt lives and breathes this stuff too, so I'm super excited to hear what you're going to say. How do we get here? First of all, like you give us a little brief history.
Yeah, you bet. So as I mentioned, and as you know, Mike, I've been doing this for 20 years. I established the company in 2004. And I've seen so many trends over the years, you would be surprised. I started actually designing websites in a program called Flash, and I made these dynamic presentations. So everything was basically in a container on one page called Flash. Now Flash does not exist anymore, thank God, because now we want to have as many pages as possible so we can have those URLs for Google to access and help you kind of move up the ranks with SEO. I would say that really sticks out when I started. And I'd say probably the biggest trend right now is really mobile responsive design. I personally believe that 75% of people are looking at websites from their phone. So if we're not taking a look at that, like if I'm a financial advisor, I would hope that we're going to look at it on a phone, and if it needs to get fixed, find a provider to help you. Doesn't need to be me, but so I would say those are kind of the two things that stick out for me.
Yeah, I always say mobile first. Like I just happen to have mine next to me. Like if you're not figuring out what that experience is like, then you're dropping the ball. I do feel like websites are more responsive design, so they work better with whatever device you're looking at. That was a whole thing. But 10 years ago, people were horrible. Everything was a desktop only type of website, right?
Well, that's a good point because we went from what used to be two different websites, right? So you would build a website for desktop, and then you would build a separate website with modules and all kinds of things for mobile. And now the why we call it mobile responsive design is you can actually just build one website and it's going to look perfect on a large screen monitor, on an iPhone this way, on an iPhone this way, on a tablet, 13-inch laptop. And it responds because it knows the device it's showing up on. So it's pretty cool.
Right. Nice. So you kind of caught us up to where we are now. Where do you think we're heading? Any trends that you're seeing?
Well, I know that you've been talking about AI, so I think that there's a huge trend. Obviously, AI means like everything is automated. The purpose of it is to make our lives easier, which I am all in for. But if someone comes to me and says, "What are you doing for AI?" I'm going to ask them what they're trying to accomplish, right? Because that's a pretty wide range. So if we can kind of identify what they're trying to accomplish, I can help them with different ideas. If it's content on their website, if it's automating like back office systems, whatever the case might be. It's just a matter of figuring that out. Yeah.
Uh, I know you had some things you wanted to share too, with some tips of good piece of advice. Is now the right time to do it?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
If you want to turn over my screen, I'll do it.
yeah. I got it up, so I'm shrinking our faces here.
Okay. So can you see my screen over here?
We can.
Okay, sweet. So yeah, I call it the big three, Mike. So it's like, you know, sitemap, Google profile, and really just content marketing, like automation. So I always start with when we develop websites, they always include what's called a sitemap, right? So this happens to be the capital template, which is this guy, right? And you can kind of see these are the pages. We've got about us, why choose us, meet the team, services. These are huge because we're getting these keywords: investment management, financial planning, retirement plan. We're getting these keywords in the sitemap URLs, right? So if I click on really quickly, investment management, we've got this guy. And then what we do is once the website goes live, we log into our Google Webmaster Tools, and then we add the website, approve it, and then add the sitemap. And this is what the sitemap looks like behind the scenes. So here you can tell we've got strategic alliances. Let's get into this one's huge, right? We've got retirement planning in the URL, but most importantly, we've actually got a request. We're basically saying, hey Google, here's our sitemap. We're going to recommend that you check out our site every single day. And then that's where the next step comes into content marketing. So once we create a sitemap, we want to have as many of these links as possible. That's why I say, come up with a program. Maybe it's every month, maybe it's every quarter, maybe it's every week. Call it monthly insights, whatever you want to, because that's going to automatically generate these new links that Google's looking for, and it's going to help your SEO. So what we currently offer is, if I go back to the same template under resources and I click on content marketing, what we currently offer is a plugin. So you can actually, could be as easy as, signing up, logging in, checking the boxes for all this content that you want to have show up on your website, and it will automatically show up on your website. So quick example, here's a video, continue reading, pulls up the article. The advisor doesn't have to do anything but check the boxes of the content that he wants. I mean, there's so much content available, we can get into niches. We work with faith-based advisors, for example. So there's content that you can kind of sort and have it automatically show up on your website. That's the second thing, sitemap, content marketing. And the third thing is your Google business profile. If you haven't done this, please do it. Mike has done it. I'm going to use him as an example. So this is what happens is when you go to Google Business and click on Get Started, it'll ask you questions, and then it wants to confirm it's you. You have to verify it either via video or postcard. Once you do that, you actually get a Google Business profile. You also show up in Google Maps, but then you also get like websites, reviews, you can call. So Mike, you've done a good job with this. So I would say those are the kind of the big three for me: sitemap, content marketing, and Google Biz.
Nice. And I do believe content marketing is going to be gigantic too, because AI is just going to make it easier for people to create content too. So it'll
Totally.
no longer have to have a stagnant website, right?
Yeah, and you don't even need to use a service like mine. I mean, you could use an AI provider. There's very popular one out there, but you could type in a topic, and then grab the content and then add it to a blog article, adjust it accordingly. But yeah, AI is going to play and already has a huge role in content marketing.
Yeah. You and I can agree. Like we want it to be in the advisor's authentic voice, right? Because
Right.
people can tell
Yep.
a fraud. But some content is better than no content, right? Like the whole, you can,
Great. Yeah,
you,
because it's essentially feeding that sitemap.
right,
So yeah, come up with, I would say, at least um, figure out maybe two different options, whether it's something automated, maybe it's something AI, or maybe it's a content provider. There's a lot of really good providers in the industry that have libraries out there, and you can grab content, make it your own. So if you figure out what your provider is, then just make sure you're doing it, because then it's going to add. It's kind of like building a machine. And then once you build a machine, the benefit is like those are going to just sitemap links are just going to keep popping up, and it'll help.
right. Yeah, I always, just to simplify SEO, I always tell people like you have two websites that are exactly the same. The advisors are the same, A and B. One updates 25 times a year, and one doesn't update at all. Which one's Google? It's a machine. Which one's going to pick? That's more important, and it's the one that
Yeah.
updates. So
Yeah.
then they
Well,
get
and
it.
it's a good point, but it could also be a little bit overwhelming for advisors at the beginning, right? So I like to do it in phases: branding and then marketing. When I say branding, let's go after the website. Let's create a good website. And then phase two, maybe it happens a month or two later, but let's not forget about it. Phase two, let's add a blog to your website. And then how are we going to add the content marketing that's going to fill the sitemap and help your SEO? Yep.
Mhm. Anything else that you're seeing these days?
Um, I mean, I think that those are the biggest trends that I see, Mike.
Yeah.
Um, Mobile responsive design is huge, but I think that's about it, man.
I think one that's a little scary for all websites is the AI overview or AI just answering all the questions, right? So websites
Oh,
might not come up in searches like they used to. So
yeah.
we'll have to see where that goes.
So if I can quickly respond on that, we do have a plugin, right? It's an AI generated plugin. So everyone has seen, you go to like a website, financial advisor website, you see that little blue like circle, right? The AI in the bottom corner. When you click on it, you ask a question. So our plugin, this is a good example of AI because within a week or so, it's going to harvest all the content on your website, and it's going to spit out the answers accordingly based on the content of your website. So it's not going to pull something from a different source. It's going
Yep.
to pull, from your content, which I think is good for compliance.
Yeah. I'm surprised you're saying a week. I'm bet you it's like milliseconds.
Well, I mean, it probably is now, but it's basically just going to scrub your website like a spider, and then
Yeah.
put it in a database. And then, a lot of the questions, what does fee only mean? Well, it's going to grab that from your website and promote it. So,
Yeah. We've had a lot of fun conversations over the years, and you obviously see a lot of flaws. So you want to pick on a couple flaws that you see that are common in the industry.
um, that is a good question, Mike. So, I would say probably the biggest flaw is that, well, and I'm not going to, I mean, obviously there's a lot of providers out there, right? But I would say if you're a financial advisor and you're watching this, my instinct would be to grab your phone, pull up your website, and if it looks cool, great. If it doesn't, my recommendation would be to make a change. But I mean, other than that, that's kind of the big thing for me today.
Right. Well, the nice thing too about you is to tout you a little is that you know what you're getting too. So if you go to a bigger firm, you might get sold by the senior person, but you're getting the really junior person that does the work, right?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's part of the experience when you come to Advisor Flex websites is that I'm going to be the project manager. You're going to work with me every single time. So, even if somebody wants to schedule a call and talk, like I'm going to go through my process and you say, hey, these are the four things that I see you might need help with your website. Maybe it's mobile, maybe it's not. I see this a lot where people may not even have services on their website. So it'll be, home, about, resources. And the most important menu that you can have on your website is services, because you want to have investment management, financial planning in that URL in the address bar that's feeding that sitemap. So
Yeah.
it's really just kind of educating people based on kind of where they're at today.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one of the flaws I see too is that they don't use visuals very well. Like I,
Right.
in my travels, I see the bio page is always in the top three, in traffic.
Yep.
And to me, that means I always say humans want to work with humans. So if that's the case, and that page is so popular, how can you bring that up and bubble it throughout the site? And that's where visuals and videos and all that stuff is
Yep.
so important.
Oh, yeah, you're totally right. And we're human. I know AI is like is a big thing, but at the end of the day, we're all human, and everyone likes to put a face to a name. So,
Yeah,
if you look at your bios, make sure you've got, up-to-date photos. They're not from maybe 10 years ago, because then if you're doing a Zoom call, it's like, sticker shock. You know what I mean? And then the other thing I would say is doing a video like on your homepage is very cool. Like, you know, so it's just kind of in your face and it's current. You're talking about important things, fiduciary, fee only, fee based, whatever you might be. And 30-second video is, I think, pretty cool.
yeah. I mean, I like even a referrals driven industry. I've been saying this for years. Google calling the zero moment of truth, and that was when you'd walk down the aisle. The old days, you'd pick up the deodorant, like that was the first moment of truth. You could smell it, you could feel it, you could check out the price, all that stuff in the store.
Yeah.
But they coined the zero moment of truth, which is before that. So in the digital world, you could experience a product or service and make a decision to buy it. So before you ever meet the advisor, before you ever talk to them, email them, go to their social media, like before you email, like interact in any way, right? And
Yeah.
so that like you said, that's magic. Like having that video is so important because they're gonna make a connection before they even meet you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah,
I think what you're saying, it's basically first impression, right? So it's like, and I don't know about you, Mike, but I'm human, so I tend to be lazy. So if I'm gonna like look at a website and I see a video, like an intro video, I'm just gonna click on it, because if it's 5 minutes, I probably won't last the entire time. But if it's 30 seconds to a minute, I'm gonna be engaged, and it's gonna save me so much time by getting the information from the source, as opposed to having to jump around a website and find it myself. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't think enough people are budgeting for that because that first impression is so important. The thing I always say is like if they're some don't even look at their website analytics, but if you
Yeah.
see this awful bounce rate, right, where they come to your homepage and they disappear, your website's failing. Those are leads that you might be getting that your website's not giving you the assist, right? Like
Right.
to get the dunk.
Right.
Um, so
Yeah,
like,
when it comes to analytics, there's some really cool stuff today, and probably a lot of it is associated to AI. So I'm using a service for what's called a heat map, right? So it's not just like Google Analytics, where you can see what city, what state, where people are going. You can actually have a visual of your website, and you can see, okay, like 20 people are clicking here on services, or so I'm very visual, obviously, as a
yeah,
designer, but it's pretty cool. I mean,
yeah,
so
you can a really advanced analytics too will show like the journey they take on your website, right? Like so
oh yeah.
before
Well,
you
this
converted them in
includes,
your
yeah,
yeah,
this service includes the same thing. So it's like,
yeah.
here's the heat map, but then here's the story behind the story.
And I just know other my clients that have worked with you and they love working with you because they're getting that information, right? Like I feel like sometimes it's so disconnected that the junior marketing person doesn't bubble it up to the CEO, and then the junior marketing person's hired a junior website guy because that's how it gets done and all that. And like
Yeah.
all this important information falls through, and so the websites end up failing because they're not bubbling up to the decision makers. So hats off to you for doing that.
Well, I appreciate that. I always like to say I'm not a vendor, I'm a marketing partner. So I mean, people tend to think about, okay, we need a website vendor. Um, you can find vendors, you can find me as a vendor, but I prefer to be like a marketing partner, which is collaboration in my mind, a little back and forth, spitballing, if you will, right? About
Yeah.
different ideas. So yeah.
Yeah, and I know like Matt's one of the greats that like wants people to succeed. So you are a great partner. I've seen it happen.
Appreciate that.
With anything else before we kind of ask about what you do for a living, like any other final thoughts on AI or websites or anything like that?
Um, no, I just I want to thank you for your time. You and I have been buddies for over the years, and it's been so cool. Thanks for this, opportunity. I just want to say for your friends, clients, anybody associated with Mike Byrnes, we're going to go ahead and do 249 off. So Mike, if you can provide that link, then I'm happy to do it for you. So
All right, YouTube, we'll put in the details. We'll put that link in there.
cool.
But yeah, so like, but like, what do you do? Like, tell them really quickly. Give them a summary of the services you provide.
Oh yeah. So top level, obviously website development. We also do graphic design. I like to keep track of our hourly rate for graphic design. Website development, you either do a custom website or a template website. Most people do a template website just because we can customize these things pretty good for about a third of the cost. Plus the timeline is a lot faster, right? So we're starting with a template as opposed to a blank canvas. So website development first. We can do graphic design on top of that, 80 bucks an hour. Obviously, we provide content in many different forms. Uh, yeah, and we can do videos. If you want to have a custom video, like we mentioned on your homepage, it won't be me, but I've got some pretty good, awesome guys that I know in the industry that have been doing this for as long as I have.
Nice. Well, if you're watching this and you fit in that category where you haven't really invested in your website in a long time, I highly recommend him. A great guy to reach out to. Well, what's your website? How would they find you?
Advisorflex.com,
There you go.
SOR.
Nice. And I'm Byrnes Consulting. Byrnes is spelled a little weird. Byrnes, ByrnesConsulting.com. You can search our names. We'll probably pop up too. But Matt, this has been awesome. We'll have to do another one of these, but thanks for sharing all your information and good luck to the Mariners out there.
Thanks. Hey, thanks, buddy. Have a good week and good luck to the Sox.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.